Good evening, voters. Government has told WhatsApp tonight that set up a grievance redressal cell, set up a corporate entity in India and follow India's laws. Government has also told WhatsApp that they should be able to track down the original perpetrator of fake messages being peddled on their platform. Yes, that is the solution that the government has given to social media giants to battle fake news. That is the solution that they think will help the platform from being misused for fake news propaganda. So tonight I ask, can WhatsApp really stop this menace? For the past many days, for example, we have repeatedly brought to you instances of fake news about Kerala floods, from rumors about cracks in a dam in Kerala to the entire state not needing any relief material. And that cycle goes on despite us telling you every day what's real and what's not. Every day we still come across citizens who have fallen prey to one or the other such social media forward because they either don't know better or because that message plays to their prejudice. So how do we fight this menace? If we had better tech systems at WhatsApp and Twitter, would we have been able to stop these fake videos from Mexico and Odisha being palmed off as Kerala floods? Is it possible? Or will the government really have to take on the responsibility themselves rather than putting the onus on social media giants? How do we ensure that fake news about Muslims attacking Kavarias or vice versa doesn't get peddled on social media? How do we ensure that rumors about cow slaughter or cow vigilantes doesn't get more people killed? That's the big debate tonight.
The social media platforms, Chairman Sir, are being abused as a vehicle for weaponization of information against India's strategic interest, economic stability, and is committed to taking suitable action to deter such action.
On the 19th of July this year, the Indian government warned WhatsApp of legal action if it did not put in place adequate checks to stop the spread of misinformation. This after a spate of mob lynchings triggered by social media rumors claimed several lives across the country. A month after this, Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad met WhatsApp Chief Executive Officer Chris Daniels in New Delhi today. The meet was held to discuss solutions to technological challenges related to WhatsApp in India.
I suggested basically 3 points. Number one, you must have a grievance officer in India and a whole system of that to which people can reach immediately. Second, you must have a proper compliance of Indian laws. And thirdly, WhatsApp, having become an important component of India's digital story, must have a proper corporate entity located in India. We also asked him to have a detailed mechanism to trace the origin of any sinister message.
A 3-point suggestion was made by the government to WhatsApp. But even as these suggestions are made, instances of fake news creating panic continue. From Kerala floods to Kavarias being under attack.
This was a very crucial meeting which was today conducted between the IT Minister and also Minister for Law and Justice Ravi Shankar Prasad and WhatsApp CEO. This is a follow-up to the various measures the government has been announcing, for instance, sending notices to WhatsApp and seeking responses from them pertaining to the on-ground situation. And today the Minister's statement has come as a shot in the arm for the government, where the Minister has emphasized as to how WhatsApp is now agreeable to formulate a policy.
So, will these steps end the menace of fake news on social media? Or does the government need to look at a broader policy? The debate begins now.
Let's say good evening to our guest Vineet Goenka of the BJP. Joining us tonight also Nikhil Pava, editor of Media Nama, Kanika Seth, a cyber law expert, Ravi Vijay Shankar, consultant for techno-legal information security, Ritesh Bhatia, cyber security expert, joining us from our Mumbai studios, and Mr. Brijesh Singh, IG of cybercrime in Maharashtra. I'm just going to quickly go across the entire panel and ask them for their opening comments, and then we can delve into each aspect a little deeper. And let me start with Ritesh Bhatia. Ritesh Bhatia, from what the conversation has been, what WhatsApp has done so far, with the with the service that tells us if it's a forward or not, with better controls when it comes to the administrator, and what the government wants it to do now? Will that stop fake news?
No, I don't think so. It will stop fake news because, over the past few days itself, we are seeing so many things. We are getting so many fake news about Kerala related. We just played something earlier also. So this is really not a particular a solution as such. And the government also cannot pass the complete liability onto technological platforms. Of course, I completely agree that they need to have their setup in India. So that because that will really help the investigations a lot. So that is something that's very, very important. But at the same time, from technological perspective, what they can also do is give me an option to mark the message as either obscene or fake or something threatening, so that using algorithms and humans together, they can actually also come up with a particular workable solution. Tanvi?
Okay, same question to Nikhil Pawar. Nikhil, good evening to you. From what has been done so far, and as you know, from what a technology giant can really do, will that help us? Tomorrow, if WhatsApp comes up with better solutions to what can be forwarded or not, will that stop all this fake news that we are right now hearing about Kerala floods?
Well, I think what will help is it will reduce the virality and the spread of misinformation and fake news. The problem is that those who are intent on spreading it will still go through that extra process, because WhatsApp recently changed in an experiment in India. They reduced the number of people you can forward a message to. It will make it tougher to forward. But that doesn't mean that people who are intent on spreading misinformation won't do it. The other thing to remember is that incorrect information is not illegal. So how do you determine that the intent was wrong by someone who shared some information? Maybe they heard it from someone, they believed it, and they wanted to warn other people. And then one person forwards it to the next, to the next, to the next. How do you stop that? This is primarily a law enforcement problem. This is a communications problem for the government. I think the law enforcement agencies need better training, need more capacity building, and the government needs to be on the ball in terms of when they see something happening, when they find that there is misinformation, they need to proactively go out and tell people that this is wrong and incorrect, because they come from a position of authority. Platform solutions are there, but I don't think platform solutions will solve this problem.
Okay, so one of the other aspects that you have raised, of course, Nikhil, is the law angle, and whether somebody who's passing on wrong information without knowing it can be held accountable, and we'll go to our experts on that. But on the technology front, let me ask Mr. Vijay Shankar, what solutions are available? What is it that WhatsApp or any other social media giant can do in India? Are there any such examples that are there abroad to help crack down on false news?
The WhatsApp and other messaging platforms are basically closed group communication systems. That is, a communication can be sent to members of a small community. The problem which we are facing today is that the groups which are administered by a owner of a group, we call him as the admin, often admits people whom he doesn't know into the group. And that is where the problem starts. That is, if the admin doesn't know who are the members of the group, then he cannot control the intentions of mischievous people who would like to twist this news or create fake news and forward it within the group and from the group to the outside group. So the basic problem is not of technology, it is the way we use technology which is the problem. Even today we are trying to find solutions which forget the basic nature of the use of such social media platforms at times of crisis. In disaster situations and crisis situations, quick dissemination of information is essential, and often it is needed and will be helpful. In between, if we have some mischievous people who are trying to misuse the system, we have to find ways of tracking them, locating them, and then punishing them so that they do not repeat their offense on a subsequent occasion. Now, this WhatsApp can do by ensuring that the admins take the responsibility for the identity of the persons who are members of the group. Beyond this, restricting the forwards to five other groups or a lesser number, or tagging a particular message as forwarded message, these are all things which will have very limited impact, and I think they are not the real solutions to the current problem.
Okay, point well taken. Let's go across to Mr. Brijesh Singh. He's the IG for the cybercrime in Maharashtra. We've often spoken to Mr. Singh. Nikhil, I see your hand. I'll come back to you in just a bit. Let me just go around the entire panel once. Mr. Singh has often spoken to us about what law enforcement agencies can do and what government and citizens can do. Mr. Singh, to what extent do you think the onus is on social media giants, and can the law enforcement agencies actually play a bigger role?
See, there are three parts to it: creation, dissemination, and trackback. So while all these technologies make creation very easy, they also make dissemination very easy. But trackback is a part which they have made difficult. And it is a policy question. Technology always allows you to configure it immensely. You can infinitely configure it. But this technology has been intentionally made in such a way that it strips away metadata and it does not allow trackback. So if I want to, let's say, find out after an offense as to who had uploaded the original video, it would be virtually impossible for me to track back. Secondly, there is no mechanism of checking authenticity. In open media like social media, where you have some kind of an identity which is ultimately can be trackable to at least an IP address, here it is very difficult because you may be probably using a virtual number. Now, there are no checks here, and while there are a lot of rules, stringent rules and checks and balances about TSPs and ISPs, for these OTT players there are absolutely no rules. And if you are operating in this country, you have to abide by the law of the land, and you cannot circumvent law by saying that we are a different kind of platform. And having seen instances where social media has, not social media, but WhatsApp and other messengers have even resulted in death of people, definitely some onus has to be taken by technology platforms which have made their solution in a way where trackback and investigation is virtually impossible. So, and it can be done. If they just allow trackback, investigation would become easy. And once people start getting punished for their crimes, then at least it would put some right sense in the minds of people.
Okay, so is that one thing that you would need from social media giants for you to do your job more efficiently and quickly, is that social media giants give you the information of where the messages is coming from, go back the entire thread of which all groups, which all people forwarded it?
Yes, primarily, let us say who was the creator of this information, whom did he share with. During investigation, you would need such things. See, I understand the question of privacy. This similar question was there when telephone interception also came under such things. So, but there are checks and balances there. There are mechanisms of oversight wherein you have to tell what you are going to observe. And here also there have to be checks and balances. There has to be a mechanism of oversight. While citizens' privacy is important, for an investigation you would definitely like to know. It's our bounden duty to find out who is the perpetrator of such a thing, which has led to even deaths of people. So this trackback is a very essential component, I think.
Okay, point taken. I don't completely agree with you, because we have instances where we know the identities of people who started it. We have the instance of one specific person right now who released that audio clip that doesn't necessarily have all the correct information and has created so much confusion in Kerala about what he has said in that clip, whether that's true or not, that the right from volunteers to rescue services personnel to the government has had to come out and repeatedly clarify, telling people don't fall for what what this person is saying. That person's identity is known, but no action has been taken. Every day on Twitter, we know of individuals, their Twitter handles, the kind of propaganda while that is being spread there. Now you can say that Twitter is not doing much, but their identities are known to the law enforcement agencies and the government, so action should be there. Kanika said, what's your view?
Yes, I completely agree. There has to be some sort of, it's a digital citizenship. If somebody is a netizen who goes online, posts certain information, he has to have that responsibility to, put the right information and, at least verify what is the information that he's putting. The people who are, impersonating other people or causing identity thefts, for, putting false rumors or putting anything which is with the intention of causing any kind of public disharmony or false imputations on anybody or for that matter of fact any entity or even government is something which is actionable in law. And particularly under the IPC, we have section 154A, which also 153 also, which talks about anybody who is promoting such content online or creating such content online is something which is illegal and has to be actionable. So that's how it even has prohibitions, and there is punishments of up to 3 years of imprisonment and fine. So this is something which is serious, and people ought to realize that. Even technology platforms ought to understand, especially in WhatsApp, when an admin can be responsible and liable for having any kind of content which is of illegal nature on their group. He is again accountable for it. No matter which member has put it, it should be stopped from being circulated. So the social media has to be responsible as well, apart from the digital citizens who are actually using online to circulate such content. So therefore, it's also the responsibility of the government, because the government needs to clarify the law. It cannot be a grey area which people don't understand. So that's something which I feel it's a multi-faceted or multi-pronged approach which will really help curb false news.
So we'll ask the government what is it that they are doing, but I think to a point that you were making, Nikhil was very vehemently shaking his head. So I'm going to give him 30 seconds to make that point, and then we will go across to Mr. Goenka.
Yeah, Tanvi, this idea of holding admins accountable is inherently flawed. How am I responsible for the comment that someone else has put on a group? Many of us create groups, many of us, there are groups where if there are links that are circulating and you can just click on the link and join the group. We do not know who joins the group, but the mobile number is there, right? So how can you hold an admin accountable for what someone else is doing? I don't think that will fly if this goes to court. Secondly, I want to ask Mr. Singh whether in terms of trackbacks that they want, have they looked at a message, found the person who's forwarded the message to a group, and then gone back over the chain to find the originator of that message? Because you see, the problem with putting in traceability and breaking encryption is that the moment you break encryption, then everything, the moment you enable a backdoor, it then allows wrong actors to also get access to private and personal communication.
Absolutely.
Lastly, just my one last point, if I have forwarded a message to someone as a joke, and then they start forwarding it to other people and that leads to a riot, how am I responsible because I only sent it to one person? How will any of this fly in court? And why is this that you need to break privacy in order to catch someone who may not have done something wrong?
Okay, so to the technical aspect, we'll go across to Mr. Brijesh Singh in just a bit. But Vineet Goenka, you've heard everybody out. There have been some issues that have been raised. Now, let me just go across to Vineet Goenka and get a couple of responses from him. So, is that what we need, Mr. Goenka, that that WhatsApp or any other social media giant gives us the ability to go back and track the original user? Is that what the government wants?
Now, before I answer your question, one sentence. There is a thin line between something called as privacy and also the need of the law enforcement agencies. Now, if you see, same thing can be used by a person for two different things. One, dissemination of information. Another, creating situation which may lead to law enforcement agencies' problem. Now here, I would request all the technological platforms, whoever it is, maybe it is WhatsApp or anybody else, they have to put in tools which will lead to traceability. Traceability will help the law enforcement agencies to trace the guy who originally did it. Now, whether the guy should be responsible, whether he should be booked or not, they are provided under the Indian laws. And that can be debated in the court also. But there should be traceability who started that particular conversation or who tried to create that kind of news. Whether it is fake, whether it is half-lie, anything.
But there is no thin line.
Number two, we will also have to create awareness within the users.
Go ahead, finish your point.
Between privacy. Now, for example, one of your panelists said that, one of the panelists said that if you try to trace out, then the privacy will go. Now, we are also concerned about privacy, so we can't put in things. But then at the same time, in the same debate, if there is a need of traceability, there has to be a component of technology which will allow the law enforcement agencies to have a traceability.
No, so exactly, that's the whole point. Traceability, for our viewers to understand this, to put it in simple words, we are saying that the law enforcement, police needs to know who started this message, this forward, which means if it has been forwarded 500 times and exponentially the police has to go one step backwards at every single level until they reach the starting point, which means they need to know, they need to be reading the messages to find out where all it has gone. Now, you are telling us that to trace back, you will be reading our messages. How else will you know if something is being forwarded in a group? You need to know the text, you need to know the content of that message.
May I answer that question?
I'll come to you. Just 1 minute,
Karnika. Does not.
I wanted to say something on this.
Yes. 1 minute, Karnika. Sure. Let Vineet go and answer this.
Can I answer it?
Yes.
Yeah. Traceability does not mean that police officer will sit down there and read it. When there is a complaint which is raised, when there is a need to surveillance on some sort of things, then when there is a court orders or there are appropriate authority orders, then the LEA. LEA does not mean only police. Law enforcement agencies have other partners also. There are NTRO, there are CERTs who may be there in picture. When there is a civilian thing, there may be police. But when there is something of national security comes in, there are other agencies who may come in picture.
Okay, so let me take an example.
Help them to trace who is the originator.
Okay, give me an example.
For
Here are
example,
one minute. This is okay. Your example. Go ahead, please.
Allow me to complete my sentence, ma'am, please. Yeah. For example, there may be outside India, there may be people who are interested to create disturbance within this country, and the message would have come from outside. This can be tracked, and then you can actually tell that this is not a message created by an Indian. A. B. There may be a hate monger who tries to do this. You can locate that hate monger, book him. Now, there may be a case where, a message is misinterpreted. There may be a case. In that kind of case, there are judges, there are judiciary system which will say whether it is a misinterpretation of the message or whether the intent was wrong. But traceability will help them. Number two, here the debate of data sovereignty comes again. Let all the data of Indian origin be within the precincts of the country so that LEAs can access it when the courts order. They are not on the mercy of the foreign thing. And thirdly, there is no free lunch. Any platform, whether it is WhatsApp or any other platform which is giving news or which is giving this kind of facility are responsible. When they are making profits, let them share the pain. So they should be booked, the CEO should be booked about it.
Okay, so for example, I'll just take one of those many that I have listed here that our research team has given, and the source for this is Boom. There was a message that went viral on social media across Facebook and on WhatsApp, which said, to all my friends, be careful of some messages in WhatsApp that ask you to put your thumb on the screen to unlock a message like Happy Independence Day or Happy New Year. Beware of these messages and don't put your thumb anywhere. Scanning your thumb impression will give the app owners access to your biometric data. This is a very serious. Aadhaar biometric is linked to all your bank accounts and PAN cards, so be careful. Obviously, this message was a fake. It was a fake. Now, are you telling me if you want to find out who is spreading panic and fear amongst people and misinformation about your pet project, you are going to go to the court or some government agency to ask for permission, and how will you track this down? Let's break this down for this specific example.
Yeah, okay. Whenever there is a need of tracking some kind of technological thing, and if it falls under surveillance, there are appropriate authorities who can give these orders. A constable or a police inspector cannot go out and do a surveillance. There is an appropriate authority. This has been defined under the law. There may be need of ministerial instruction. Now that will be followed. The process will be followed and there can be a tracking done. And it has already been described how it has to be done. In the good old days when there was only telephone, even then what is called as scooping, what is called as listening, and all this has been described. And there is a procedure, proper procedure which the LES follow. If they don't follow that, then there's a breach and the officer can be booked.
It sounds like an extremely elaborate process, while at the same time you're making this entire system accessible to people who may be open to misusing my information, because once the encryption thing is gone, that's about it. Karnika wanted to make a point, and then I will go to Mr. Brijesh Singh.
Ma'am, where you are thinking about, can I just make one quick point, Miss Tanvi? Miss Tanvi, I'll just make a quick point. What you are talking about encryption, you are believing what has been told to you. There are things which are lying on some servers, may not be within the country. And what you are talking about encryption is between the transmissions, right? But when the data is lying somewhere, somebody can actually track it. But if you can trust the LES of India, they're responsible people.
You are saying, Mr. Goenka, somebody is already reading my emails and WhatsApp messages, so I am unnecessarily being paranoid because that's already happening.
I said, don't be under impression that cannot be cracked by some agencies which are outside the country, whereas the Indian agencies are more responsible. I know many of these boys who are working there for Indian agencies. They are very, very matured people, very professional, and they do not do things which is not being prescribed by the Indian laws.
Okay, Karnika,
but there may be outside India.
Okay, point taken. Karnika,
so when you talk about why is WhatsApp giving you free things? There is no free lunch.
I wanted to make 2 points here. One is that fake news has to be defined. We all know that there's no express law apart from a few provisions in the IPC and IT Act and certain other provisions which could be employed here. But then it really needs a complete detailed analysis and some law on that. Apart from that, the second point is the law enforcement. The powers to say do surveillance or to do interception or to do a blocking of a particular message. Now that's something which even under the IT Act we have powers of blocking, and Secretary of IT as the nodal agency would be taking up the approvals from him, and then the blocking would take place. Secretary Home would look into inspection, interceptions of any kinds of traffic data online, and that again needs his approval, and then there would be interceptions possible. So there are laws as on date, but then as you rightly pointed out, we need to have a quicker action. We cannot wait for a number of hours to go, and there are mob lynching attacks, there are other consequences which are very adverse. We cannot wait for that kind of timeline. Even if a particular person informs an ISP that this problem exists on your platform, please stop this from circulation. WhatsApp or other media should have the capability to stop it. So that's something which we really need to highlight. At the moment, there's a 36-hour guideline given by the government and the law, in fact. And within 36 hours, they have to take action once an illegal link is reported. But is that 36 hours not too long, is my question.
But
and I feel, frankly
but
speaking,
on top
this is
of that,
too
we
long.
are saying
really need to amend
let's
the law
also go and
so
get
that,
permission from some
we
authority
can take
to then look into backtracking the messages and finding the original perpetrator. That will also just add to it. I don't know how that's a practical solution. I mean, to my limited understanding. Mr. Brijesh Singh, Nikhil Pava had a question to you. If you could respond to that now.
Yes.
That do you individually in serious cases go back from one to the other to find out where the message really came from? Can that be done?
For trackback, you don't need to hop from one message to the other.
Can I make a point?
There are timestamps and
yes, Mr. Vijay Shankar, coming to you next.
Content of message, apart from the content of message, there is metadata. Metadata is about, let us say, originator, time of creation and things like that. This metadata can be definitely shared and it should be shared. Secondly, about encryption. In the good old days of email, when the email was the only method of communication, now when we wanted information, there is a procedure and there are checks and balances on this procedure, and there is oversight and there are committees. So outside it is not known that these things are taken very seriously. And there are individuals who outside of law enforcement approve this and they check the authenticity of this, and later on a review committee also checks whether it was essential and what was the purpose of asking for this information. Now similarly, if this information is asked, there is no need to break encryption. You can give metadata primarily. Then again there are solutions. You can have, let's say, a key escrow. You can keep the let us say encryption key with the court, and later on if required then only that part can be decrypted. Thirdly, privacy cannot be at the cost of national security. Let us say if there are tomorrow bomb blasts, and do you want privacy at the cost of that? And while privacy is important, you need to have a mechanism where you would need to...
We're talking about regular fake news, every day false forwards and information that we are being given. You know, what about those which are creating panic in Kerala right now about cracks in the dam? What about those which are saying that people in Kerala don't need any food in the first few days? They didn't need any food, that all the rich have been are the ones who have suffered, and so it's all right, don't get so worked up. What about those kind of messages? Now you can say that's not national security. Don't they merit the similar kind of action?
That is also national security. That's no. That so there are levels of this. So from public order to national security, there's a continuum, and even disturbance of public order is a serious thing. Now these messages are created with an intent. These messages are created with a nefarious intent of causing disturbances of public order, or putting the relief agencies in disarray.
Yes.
These definitely need to be tracked down, and there are technological solutions available. While privacy is a question, metadata can definitely be shared.
Okay.
Apart from that, there can be solutions where there can be key escrow, and then there are very strong mechanisms of oversight within the government.
Okay, I'll come back to you on that point. Mr. Vijay Shankar, go ahead please. I have a few viewers also on the phone line who want to express their point, but very quickly to Mr. Vijay Shankar first. Yes.
Yeah. You see, we have been talking about the law as well as technology. As far as India is concerned at this point of time, neither law nor technology obstructs any investigation and bringing the culprits to book. For example, WhatsApp is an intermediary under Information Technology Act. They are supposed to have some kind of a due diligence. The admin of a WhatsApp group, I am not making him responsible for the content, but I want admins to be responsible for admitting members to the WhatsApp group. I do not consider that any way of floating around a WhatsApp link in the open space and asking anybody to click on the link and join, that is something which should not be done, because the admin takes the responsibility for the actions of the members. So let us not say that admin is being made responsible for the content, but he is responsible for the members. Now once the members are identified to their mobile number, the traceability automatically exists with the particular mobile identity. There have been instances in the past where viruses have been traced back from country to country by going back from one particular receiving device to the source, and then going back and like that. So I do not see that there can be any excuse for not being able to trace a WhatsApp fake message. It is possible that when the crisis is there, the messages may go through, we may not be able to prevent it. But soon thereafter, police with a normal level of investigation can definitely trace the originator of a mischievous message. The only place where they get stuck is when there is a spoofing of a mobile number. Even when there is a spoofing, the ISPs should be having adequate metadata, which under the current laws they are expected to share with the police when an investigation is on. So there is no hurdle either in law or in technology for preventing the kind of crimes which we are debating today.
Then why are we putting the onus?
Lots of excuses.
Mr. Vijay Shankar, if you say that there is nothing that stops them today, then why are they putting the onus on WhatsApp to come up with something more, saying you have to take these steps, you have to ensure it doesn't happen? Why is the government not already acting on these available options?
We can always expect the WhatsApp. We can expect WhatsApp to help us more. That is different. But the problem is not with the WhatsApp as a technology. In fact, whatever problem WhatsApp has got, today we have got it on Gmail, we have on Facebook, we have got on internet itself.
Sure.
So
Okay.
the kind of problems which we see in WhatsApp is there in
there
the
is something.
fundamentals of the technology.
Okay.
So that is
Very
not
quickly going
see,
to
we are only trying to
Shekhar
go,
on the phone line.
after a wrong person.
Okay, point taken, and I will carry forward that argument that you've made. But going across to Shekhar on the phone line from Bengaluru. Good evening, Shekhar. What would you like to say?
Hi, Tanvi. So I think first up, I should congratulate Mirror now because I think we put a video yesterday when we spoke about rumor versus truth, where I had spoken about what's happening in Kerala first and was rumor around it versus truth around it. Now, as we're talking about WhatsApp, I think social media overall needs a filter. If you're talking about information which is there around us, there's a lot of information which is going around us. And now with the 2019 elections coming closer, you'll have all kinds of political parties offering all kinds of information coming around us. That's where WhatsApp is really important. That's where Facebook is really important. That's where LinkedIn is really important. That's where Instagram is really important. It's not just about WhatsApp. It's about all the social media contacts and all the information around us. Now, here we have to be very careful about how the information comes in. Now, in terms of WhatsApp, the WhatsApp groups is really important because at any given point of time, if I have a WhatsApp on my phone, I will have 4 to 5 groups. Now, 4 to 5 groups will have different information filtered in. It's very important as a group member or as a WhatsApp co-founder or someone who manages WhatsApp or somebody who manages a group. It is very important that the members you choose or the information you put in is going as per the rules because
Okay, I have a bad line with you, Shekhar, but I think I got the point that you were making, which is to say that there has to be some amount of accountability for somebody who's founding the group and somebody who's a member on the group. They also have to play their part. Nikhil Power, yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask your viewers who are watching this show, how many of them would like to be held liable for a comment that is being made in their group by someone in the group, even if they know them or if they don't know them, right? No one is. I don't think this is going to stand legally, and someone wants to take it to court and try and push this, it's not going to work. Number two, this entire talk, I think, I'm not sure whether Mr. Shankar understands how end-to-end encryption actually works, because end-to-end encryption means that nothing is stored on the server, the ISP is not able to track any metadata, and the messages that are forwarded or are sent with end-to-end encryption, it's from device to device. So the keys for decryption are only on the device which has receiving it, and so therefore I don't think it's possible to be able to trace it when there's end-to-end encryption. What we are talking about here is the end of end-to-end encryption. Now, the problem with this approach is that if you remove end-to-end encryption, everyone becomes vulnerable. You can't make people more secure by making them more vulnerable. If you remove encryption, someone is going to find a backdoor, someone's going to be able to access those messages, and that will be the end of private communications. And that's not and removing encryption and enabling such a system is a disproportionate response to a singular issue. Exceptions cannot define the rule. You can't, on the basis of 1 or 2 incidents, however major, you can't make everyone vulnerable. All private communication will suffer if this happens.
Okay, Mr. Vijay Shankar wants to add a clarification to that. Yes.
Just a clarification. I am not talking of breaking the encryption. See, even an encrypted message has to move from one device to another device. The devices are identifiable by a mobile number assigned to them by a mobile service provider who is responsible for the KYC of that mobile device owner. Now, if he fails, you can hold a mobile service provider responsible for failing in the KYC.
Cannot read the message.
As I told you earlier,
the mobile service
they
provider
don't have
cannot
to read the message because all the cases which we are talking of are cases where the complaint is filed by one of the members who parts with what is a decrypted message. So there is no doubt about what is the message. So that is available, and we know that it has come from a particular source. Now, whether the source number is genuine or spoofed is the technological barrier which we have to pass, for which the metadata will be useful.
From, sir. That's the problem.
We want only metadata, not the content.
Information.
That is why privacy is also not an issue here.
You don't know the source of the information.
I didn't get that point.
He's saying you don't know the source of the information.
I'm talking of
I'm saying you're not able to determine the source of this information.
Immediate previous source is there. Now, immediate previous source is there, the person who has forwarded it to my mobile, and you have to go to that person and ask where from he got it. That chain will have to be extracted, however long that chain is.
Okay.
And even if it
I
goes out of
completely
the
agree with this
country,
approach.
Okay.
it happens
I'm
in
going
all
to
the
go.
case of
I'm going.
emails, terror,
Okay.
investigations, etc.
I'm running out of time. I want to go across to Ritesh
I
Bhatia
think there's
also
a
and to bring back to the larger conversation that we are having, Ritesh Bhatia, when it comes to fighting fake news. Can the buck just stop with us having to know who forwarded it on WhatsApp?
Yeah, see Tanvi, what we really need to understand over here, we are talking about the kind of fake news which are coming on a daily basis to so many of these people. What will really work over here, besides the technological suggestions given by Mr. Brijesh Singh also, because as somewhere I really agree with him कि yes, the metadata can be made available to the agencies and officers, whereas the rest of the messages can go in an encrypted fashion, so which is not really an issue as such. The metadata can be held by the technology. But here I see the government really showing, practicing what they really preach, what they are preaching. They need to set an example. There have to be stronger punishments, and we really need to see those happening. I mean, just imagine these, so much of drunk cases were happening. So, the 2000 fine or all those things were not really helping. But later on, when these arrests were made and it was flashed and all that, the drunk driving has really gone down. There's the same thing with the fake news. This can really go down.
So let's ask Mr.
fear
Vineet
needs to be there.
Goenka. Let's ask that, and let that be the last question, Mr. Goenka.
I think that we need
While you ask
systems.
WhatsApp and others to come up with solutions, while you ask the foreign for entities to set up their centers, data centers in India and do all of that, can you give me one or two big examples of where you and how the government has played a role in cracking down fake news?
There can be hundreds of cases which need not be discussed on the channel right now.
Why not?
But what you
give
see,
us an example of what you are
problem is
doing
just a tip
as
of
our
the
government.
iceberg. Yeah.
Just
There
give
are
one
various
from
cases
the
which have been
hundreds of
tracked now.
examples.
Let me assure
When
you.
will you go and pull up that man who calls himself Mr. Suresh and spreads about all these very interesting insights about what's going on in Kerala and what Kerala needs? When will you ask him where he got all that information for that now has people across the country confused whether they should be donating to Kerala at all or not?
You are mixing issues. So
No,
let
I'm
me
not.
answer you
I'm
once
talking
again.
about
If you
misleading
allow me to
false
answer
information,
uninterrupted.
which is also a kind of fake news. I'm saying give me one example. Give me one example where the government has actually cracked down on those who are spreading rumors about cow slaughtering and you've put people behind bars. Give me one example where the government has actually put people behind bars for spreading rumors about child
examples
lifting
are many.
or for
Okay.
those who have beaten people and thrashed people as part of a mob mentality. Give me any kind of example today.
There are n number of examples which are there where there have been cases have been tracked. Please trust the police, please trust the LEAs who can do things when it is required. Now there is a thin line between national security and privacy, and it cannot be debated over this kind of sessions.
It cannot be, which is why
there has to be a technological traceability in the system. A, B, the platforms have to be responsible.
Yes,
they cannot make profits
now
and just
Mr.
say
Goenka,
it has
you
to
are
be done by the government.
repeating
You
what
cannot-
Ravi Shankar Prasad has
let me allow
already
to
said.
complete my sentence,
Ravi
ma'am.
Shankar
I've been
Prasad has
hearing to you
repeatedly
all
said
this
that
hour.
WhatsApp and others
Ma'am,
have
allow
to
me
take
to make some-
responsibility.
allow me to speak.
That's not
Allow
what
me
the
to
viewers
speak,
want to know
ma'am.
from you.
Ma'am, have
You
some
need to
patience
tell us
to
what
allow-
you are going to
Ma'am,
do.
this is also called as a fake news when you push words. When you don't allow the panelists to speak, it is also part of fake news. So please allow the panelists to speak. I heard you, ma'am. Have some patience. I heard you. So once I said I heard you, allow me to speak, ma'am. There are cases which have been tracked. When it is necessary, the LEAs get into action. I need not justify that here. A. B. Technological
do.
platforms
Yes,
have
you
to be
do, Mr.
responsible.
Goenka.
If
I
a
am out
constable
of
does a
time
mistake,
here.
how you ask the question to the government, same way, ma'am, have patience, ma'am. Have some patience. I
You
not
have to
seen you
justify
interrupting
it
any
not
other
to me
panelist.
but to
I
your
would
viewers
like to have the
because
same
they are your
courtesy.
voters.
You will have to give me the same courtesy, ma'am. I don't know what is the hurry. Why you are trying to...
But I'm running out of time. That is the
Which
hurry.
you want to make. Because you are interrupting. I would have finished my answer if you would not have interrupted me. By interrupting, you are trying to take away my thoughts. And my request to you would be, do not force your words on my mouth and allow me to speak what I want to speak, ma'am. You have invited me to your channel, right? So have some patience. LES are responsible. They work when it is required. WhatsApp or any other platform, whether it is Media Nama, anybody, they have to be responsible. They should be fined if their platforms are used by anybody else. If they are making profits, they are responsible for this. B, the debate on privacy and national interest cannot go on a TV channel. It can be going on into a debate of the court. But this is a larger issue which has to be handled very sensitively. Whether a person called as Suresh makes a fake news, or there is some mullaji who says only within the God's own country is called as Allah's country, it will be right. Or there may be a pastor saying that this is, Jesus' land. All these are things which have to be condemned. These are responsible things which have to be condemned.
You are saying people who are peddling fake news must be condemned.
Whether it is a pastor making it, whether
here is what I hear.
Now you are talking about only one incident.
Telling us right now, the BJP leader Vineet Goenka, I'm sorry, I'm out of time. This is not your propaganda channel. This is a news channel. You were given time and I am running out of time. When asked about giving us specific examples, there were no examples that Mr. Goenka could give me. When asked about what is it that the government is going to do, the onus, he told us, is on the WhatsApp agencies, on the social media giants to take these steps. That's exactly the point that we are repeatedly trying to make here. While you make them accountable, and by all means do that, you cannot put the onus just on them. And you cannot do it at the risk of my privacy. Now you want them to give you all the details of what is being said on social media, on my private chat account, so that you can track down the perpetrator. When we have experts sitting here and telling us that that can be done any which ways. If anything, the experts tonight have proven that the current technical system and the current laws make it possible, if the intent is there, to track down these perpetrators of fake news. Now, whether or not the government does its job, we will do our job. And we have compiled a series of things that you as a viewer can do to do your contribution towards fighting fake news, or at least not fall for fake news. Point number one, check for copyright on the links that are being sent to you, on the information that is being sent to you, on a picture that is being sent to you, on a video that is being sent to you. Always try and find the original source. You can reverse Google Map an image and track it back down to see where did it come from. Was it used in any other situation? And you will most often find that if it is a fake image, it would have been used in another story in another situation. Check the credibility of the source. What is that link? Who is sending it to you? If it's on WhatsApp, ask that person who's forwarded it to you, where did you get it from? How do you know this information? Have you verified it? If it is a website or a portal, check if it is a known and a credible piece of source of information. Ask if the information really seems realistic. If it is too good to be true or too bizarre, then probably it is fake. Point number 5, don't believe without cross-checking. Verify. Do these steps yourself before you believe anything. Don't create to the panic, don't add to the panic. Step number 6, differentiate between fake and genuine. Step number 7, look at the videos and pictures carefully. See if the entire picture really makes sense. If there is shooting, fighting happening in the middle of the street and the police is firing at a set of people and people are just quietly standing by on the side, then perhaps it's a drill and not an actual open firing during a riot. Point number 8, check with the domain experts. There are many available and we keep putting out those details. Question everything you read, viewers. And unless you are sure of the information, do not spread, do not forward that unverified information. On our part, every day we bring to you one piece of fake news. That's what we here at Mirror Now is doing. The question is, what will the government do? Thank you for joining us tonight.